All right, so I'm excited about today's training because this is going to be the jewel in the crown of the League of Champions Silver membership. Something that I've been planning for quite a while, and I don't think anybody else is actually doing this. So this is going to be one of the things that makes our low ticket entry level product so much more valuable than anything else out there. It's just going to completely blow everything else out of the water that you can get for this price point. So what this is, so on top of all of the powerful programs that we have, like Path to Power and Magnetic Mind and A Man of Magnitude, that you get in the resource folder, this will help you to actually get true one-on-one support weekly to help you move towards your goals without it costing you thousands and thousands of dollars, which is what it would ordinarily cost. Okay, so we're just going to get started. What I've done is I've created a worksheet for you to use when you coach your accountability buddy. It includes just some things to, a process for you to follow, and then some troubleshooting tools and resources that you can dive in if anybody's feeling particularly stuck. So without further ado, I'm just going to share my screen. Share screen. What's happened? And I'm going to pull up this document. So this document will definitely be in the units too. You won't have any question about where this document is. So and it's just one sheet designed like that, so you can simply print it out before a session. But then there's some supporting sheets too. So you might want to just print one copy of the appendix out and just keep it for your reference. All right. So what I might do is, before we go back up to the top sheet, I'll actually go through the things to watch out for in the appendix. So before we even get into a coaching session with somebody, these are some things to be really mindful of. Okay, so number one, doing your own inner work is by far the best thing that you can do to make your sessions more effective with your client. By far, by far, by far. The more neutral you are internally, and I'll talk more about that, the more powerful your client is able to shift, and the more possibility you hold for transformation. Okay, so remember that these coaching sessions with your accountability buddy are to support the pre-recorded materials like Magnetic Mind, Man of Magnitude, Path to Power, and some of the others that you'll find in the resource folder. This is not designed as a substitute. So if you use these, this coaching with your accountability buddy together with the pre-recorded material, that's going to be incredibly powerful for both of you. Number three, so ask yourself, is the client coming from a position of power? Are they in their creator complex? That is, have they taken 100% responsibility for everything that's going on for them? Are they being curious? I wonder, this is like, I wonder, versus telling it how it is, or offering up excuses. Are they being courageous? Are they choosing to do things that they've never done before? And are they 100% committed to the outcome? So the first thing to remember really is, remember our Path to Power mini course training. Like there's no coincidence that is given to you guys right at the beginning. That is the foundation for everything. And if you're not doing the things that are taught in Path to Power, any of this other stuff that we do is just it's just like a house of cards that we're building. We really need to get that foundation strong and make sure that we're turning up in our power, both as a client and as a coach, in order for everything else to be effective. So if you need to, just make sure that you've got easy reference to your Path to Power playbook there, because that'll help you to remind yourself and maybe work through with your client some of that stuff if you feel they're not really in their power. So number four, are you as a coach in a neutral frame of mind and in your position of power? So I've already talked about position of power, but neutral frame of mind is really important too. So what does that mean? It means stuff like, have you left all your issues and troubles outside the session. As a coach, you're turning up for your client, and even though you might have other stuff going on as well, like when you're showing up for your client, you are 100% there for them, and none of your stuff matters. When you swap over, then it's all for you. All that stuff can be present. It's totally fine. But when you're the coach, you're the coach, and you just want to be this powerful, neutral presence that hasn't got lots of stuff going on inside as best you can. Not jumping in and automatically taking sides in either solidarity with your client or opposed to the client's point of view. This is really important. So what that looks like, I'll give you an example from my own experience. So, I've had a lot of coaching, and I don't see this very much because it's not best practice. But when it came to me, I was in a sort of coaching conversation with somebody, and they did this thing, and I was like, oh man, that feels so good. But I knew that it wasn't actually right. So here I was in this session, and I was talking about how I was feeling in my marriage. And I was feeling this way and this way and this way, and the coach jumped in, and she's like, well, you have absolutely a right to be whatever it was, the opposite that I was feeling. And she literally jumped in onto my side, and kind of like put her arm around me. This is like figuratively, she didn't actually do that, but put her arm around me, and was in the same boat as me looking out. When what we actually really need from our coaches is we can definitely empathize, with people, and acknowledge how they're feeling. Like, those feelings are real. That stuff is real. Don't ever think that that's not real. But the story behind it is often not real at all. And what we need from our coaches is for them to really ascertain, well, is that really true? Are those feelings justified, or have they just come from some story that we've made up? Oftentimes that's the case. So that takes me into that next point that I have here of buying into their story without examining the story to see how true it actually is. So what could be a good example? A good example is, okay, even this morning I was thinking, I'm not sure if anyone in New Zealand wants to hear what I have to say. Or maybe I'd be saying it in a different way. Nobody in New Zealand cares what I have to say. All right. Is that true? No, Helen, that's not true. Okay, we've got people on this training who are in New Zealand listening to this right now. But I was thinking that, so if I was in a coaching session, I said that, and my coach jumped in and said, oh, that's all right, Helen. There'll be other people out there that, in America or whatever, and they'll care about you, or what. They don't care about people caring about me, but maybe your message will resonate more with them. Okay, before actually seeing, well, am I just talking bullshit here, which I was. So that's what I mean by not jumping in and just remaining completely neutral. Really important. It can be hard not to do. So remember, it's okay to be empathetic and compassionate, recognize that the feelings are real, but oftentimes, excuse me, the stories behind the feelings. Look how nervous I'm. Like, I just got a dry cough. The stories behind the feelings are often not true at all. Okay, what else do we need to look out for? As a coach, are you as the coach responding to the client as if they are already their highest self? Can you notice when they're not being this self? Do you as the coach 100% believe your client can achieve his or her dreams? And number 6, I'm going to have to get a drink of water. Excuse me. Negative mind reading. So I'm gonna get a drink of water and come back. One sec. All right, that's better. Negative mind reading. Okay, remember, none of us actually know what another person is thinking. Clients will often come up with ideas and assumptions about what another person thinks and then base their thoughts, feelings, and behavior on something they have no idea is actually true or not. I'm going to say that again. Negative mind reading. None of us actually know what another person is thinking. Clients will often come up with ideas and assumptions about what another person thinks based on their behavior. But remember, you don't actually know what is motivating that behavior. You can think what would motivate you to behave in that way, but you don't actually know for sure. Okay, so they think they know what another person thinks and then base their thoughts, feelings, and behaviors on something they have no idea is true or not. All right, so there's some things to look out for before you move into your session. Now, let's go back up to the top of the sheet. So before your session, privately review your notes from the previous session. Okay, I've even included a checkbox there, Gwendolyn, you'll be so proud of me. Okay, number 2, set the intention. How would you like today's session to be? This is really important. It's really important to what we call hold the space. Set the intention for what this is going to be like for you, for your client. Okay, and write that down. Take a moment to actually write that down. Number 3, as I said, kind of set the space, turn off distractions, print out this sheet, show up on time and in your power. Number 4, remember to show up as your best self and always look at the client as if they are already who they say they want to become. Always, always, always. So there's a space here for you to say, what kind of person is my client's future self? And you know, you should know the answer to that. So if you don't know the answer to that, that's a really great question and conversation to be having. But as you're moving through Magnetic Mind, it should be really easy for the client to say and explain to you who their future self is, who is this person that they're creating, and that is a thing that you need to hold on to over and above everything else, and see that person as that person now and relate to them that way. And then you can see when they're not being that person, it's really easy to actually call them out and say, hey, that's not you. I know who you are. You're this person, not that one. Remember to be a loving but objective and neutral presence. This is what truly serves. So I've already spoken about that. And just, you know, on that note, give yourself a quick scan. You know, are there any areas in the session today where I notice I am not feeling neutral? So let's say, and it can be tough. It can be tough. Let's say you've both experienced domestic violence for just, I'm just plucking something out of the air here. And something happens and you both suddenly turn into, um, you know, all men are bad or whatever, like, because you've got this deep, if you've still got stuff around something and the other person has stuff around the same kind of thing, it's really easy for you guys to jump into the same boat together, and that's not a very powerful relationship when it comes to a coaching relationship. So just be really mindful about that. Or if you start getting triggered, if anything the client is saying, you know, maybe their values are different to yours and they behave in a way that you would never behave, it just gives you an opportunity to actually look at that and get yourself to a neutral position. So there'll always be great opportunities for self-reflection when you're actually coaching a client. More often than not, you'll discover that whatever shows up for your client is actually showing up for you as well. I can't explain it. It's just this weird magic that seems to happen. But yeah, just be ready for that. It'll be pretty cool. Okay, so during the session, a quick hello and rapport. So rapport is important. You guys, if you don't like your accountability buddy, if you just don't get on, if you don't vibe, like there's no bad feelings there, you really want to have that good relationship, and that you know that you think your client is awesome and the client thinks you're awesome, and you've got that nice rapport going on there. So a quick hello and rapport should be pretty easy. I'd really encourage you, if you haven't got the right accountability buddy, just be open and honest about that. Not everyone vibes together, and organize a different one. Okay, keep it nice and lighthearted. Okay, so are we ready to get started? So remember, holding the space, you as the coach, are you ready to get started? Okay. you have that intention for, okay, we're holding the space for powerful transformation here. Set the client intention. How's your week been and what outcomes would you love from this session today? They'll tell you. You write it down. Okay, a quick pulse check of PERMASH. Do you remember what PERMASH is? That's all right, because if you don't, here it is on the appendix. Okay. The question is, how satisfied are you in this particular area of your life? And just remember, it's not how much of this stuff do you have. Okay, so it's how satisfied are you with this particular area of your life, not how yeah. It's got nothing to do with anybody else. Okay, it's just personal satisfaction. And the acronym is P for positive emotions, E for engagement in life, R for relationships, M for money, A for achievements, A for appearance, authenticity, / showing up. So that means, is the person showing up as their powerful self? Because that really eats at our soul if we know we're not being daily who we're meant to be. And spirituality, and H for health. So give them a quick pulse check. That'll give you a lot of information and places to dive into, especially if like one of them's particularly low. Okay. So, and you don't need to like freak out either. Like if someone gives themselves a 0, it's all just self-awareness. Okay. So there's no right or wrong. The client shouldn't be under any pressure at all to provide inflated numbers when it comes to that. So that's important. It's just self-awareness, just being able to track how a person feels in a really quick snapshot. Number 10, so get out your lenses document. I can't help you if you don't do your lenses. Well, I can, but it's much more difficult. Your lenses document is really your measurable progress. This is what you'll actually be able to measure progress against. And without your lenses document, it's going to be really easy for people to hide the stuff that's going to keep them stuck. Okay, but when it's actually written down and you can see that a person's making progress in all these different areas, but for some reason or another, this one particular action is just not getting done over and over and over again, or there's a pattern that starts to develop. It's going to be hard to see that without your lenses document. So get your lenses document out. All right. Ask them, how's their week been action-wise? Okay. Check their weekly review. Talk about their weekly review sheet. Did their one thing get done? Remember, that was their one thing that they said was the most important thing. If not, so is the one thing still the one thing? Why didn't it get done then? What got in the way? So have a conversation around that. That's going to be important. If they're not doing the one thing that makes the most difference, you really want to dive into that straight away, which is why it's such an awesome question, because it gets to the juice of it really quickly. Okay, number 11. So once you've had a bit of a discussion around that, so is the client content with progress this week? An easy way to ascertain that is to ask them, just give you a number between 1 and 10. 1 being really not very pleased with progress, and 10 being, over the moon and very content with progress. How would they like progress to be rated next week? Okay, obviously, if it's 5 this week and they'd like an 8 for next week, okay, great. So what are we going to do? Which directs us into, well, what needs to happen for that to become a reality? Specifically, how would they like to make progress? All right, so that ties in exactly to actions on the lenses sheet. And then you just want to do a little bit of, it's not really future pacing, but just checking. So if this is what you say you want to do, what's going to get in the way of that? Let's troubleshoot that now. So what's going to be the biggest barrier? And how aligned are the following areas to your goals? Okay. So this is some prompts I'm giving you here to help really uncover either what got in the way last week or what's going to get in the way this week. So these are the things that really want to be working together and all pointing in the same direction for somebody to really make good progress. So the first is you want, and I call these the 7 alignments. So maybe it's a 6, 7. Yeah, good. Is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? Yep. If any of these, so we want all of these pointing one direction, because if most of them are pointing this direction, but one of them is another, it's kind of like they're like tent pegs, and they'll pull you in different areas and keep you stuck. So you want them all pointing in the one direction. So the first is your heart and soul. So, or the clients, is this goal something that I truly want to be doing in my heart? Am I inspired? Okay, so if their goal is something they feel they should be doing, because of some kind of idea of responsibility, obligation, or whatever, if they're not excited and intrinsically motivated to do that thing, that's going to be slowing them down. And you want to have a look at that. If that is the case, either you can have a courageous conversation about, well, maybe what they should be doing instead, or reframe that thing that if they have to do that thing and they're just not inspired or motivated, to reframe it as a really vital stepping stone to getting where it is that they want to go. It's so important for clients to know where they truly want to get to from their heart. Okay, don't leave your clients barking up the wrong tree. If they've got goals that are over here, but really deep down they want to be over there, you want to be having conversations about how to get over there. And sometimes it might have to be via that goal first, or maybe there's just some hard decisions to be made around letting that goal go. All right. Okay, so if they are inspired and their heart and soul is aligned, great. Okay, the next is our conscious mind. So firstly, path to power. Are we being powerful? And I've gone through that before. It should be second nature to you guys, to you now. But does this goal seem like a good idea? Given everything that you know, does this seem like a good idea? Pretty easy question. Generally, it's going to be yes. Yeah, happy children, just had to check those noises. Yeah, shouldn't be doing something if it doesn't feel like a good idea. Then third one is your strategy, logistics. Is your plan, or is my plan, the right one for me and my circumstances? Everyone lives in different environments. We've all got different circumstances, and the strategy that we adopt absolutely 100% needs to speak to those circumstances and work with those circumstances. Otherwise, it's just going to be, really slow progress and people will feel frustrated. So environment, does my environment support me? All right. Either it supports you in your goals or it doesn't. If it doesn't, what can you do? How can you create a more conducive environment when it comes to what your goals are? Or do you need to change your strategy given your environment? So there's lots of questions that you can ask yourself in order to get a client in alignment. What about health and body? Is my physical body impairing progress to my goal? Vibration in a stance. Am I feeling like the person who has already achieved the goal? So if not, who do I need to be? And you can refer to the inner stance worksheet below, which I'll show you. Okay, that's going to be important. If they're like saying they want to be this certain person, but they're not choosing to be that now, we really want to be looking at that as well, because that's really important. We don't want to do the thing to get the feeling. We want to have the feeling now, and then that thing will come. All right, and then subconscious mind. So are there fears, beliefs, other stuff that just seem to be, stuff that doesn't really, you can't identify through these other alignments, will probably come in under subconscious stuff. Okay, so I've said here, take notes, find what's not in alignment and work to bring the client more in alignment on the areas that will have the most impact. Okay, so you don't need to spend hours going through all this stuff. We're really trying to look for those big dominoes that are going to make the biggest difference. Always have that kind of one thing domino mindset. Okay, and this is the bulk of your session happening here. The client will feel good and strong decisions to act. The client will feel good making strong decisions to act for the week ahead. Okay, and then it's literally like, okay, client, what are you going to do this week And also you as a coach, if you've got some tools or resources or whatever that you said that you can pass on to your client, well, just make a note and add that to your lenses. So you finish off the session. Actually, I'll just add something here. It's always good just to ask the client any insights, takeaways, what was most valuable today. It's always a nice way to finish off and end the session. You should be feeling pretty good. All right. So that's the basic structure, and we're going to have one of the people listening today to actually take me through and coach me through my week. Now, here's a few extra tools for you. So let's say there seems to be some subconscious stuff going on, and there seems to be some kind of block there. Now, if after you've done all this and there's still something that you can't quite work out what's going on, and you can't help your client move beyond it, let a coach know. That's what we're here for, so we can kind of swoop down and really provide very specific support as and when it's needed. And you guys, when you're doing your accountability coaching with each other, kind of the eyes and ears on the ground, so that when there's a really big problem, we're able to spend our time where it's going to have the most impact. Okay, so let's see. So there's a belief, okay? The client thinks something is true, and maybe it's not. Okay, so whatever. So let's take a specific theme or issue. You don't have to know that there's a belief behind it. It might just be, there's this issue and the client feels stuck. Okay, there will for sure be beliefs behind it, and you can explore them. Okay, so then the question is, in relation to this theme, think of something that you'd like, but that you don't currently have. All right, so let's say they're trying to earn some money, and let's say they would like to have $1,000. They'd like to be making $1,000 a week, but they're not currently doing that. What would that do for you? They will tell you. And how would you feel if this became real? Okay, and they will tell you. So then the next question, in relation to all of that, what have you got now? And they say, well, I'm making $50 a week. And what's that like for you, client? And they say, well, I feel frustrated and tired and overwhelmed and mostly frustrated. Oh, well, they'll probably tell you that anyway, but so, and how do you feel is what we're getting. We really want to make sure they give you that answer if they don't give it to you when you say what's that like for you. Okay, so what that does is gives you a current experience of the client. I'll just add that in. Gives you a snapshot of the client's current experience regarding this issue. Okay. Okay, so then it becomes, so, and just let the client know that. I said, okay, so this is your experience. Okay, this is what you're having this current experience, and then ask the client to kind of dissociate themselves from their body. So usually I've got like a little Russian doll. I haven't got it here at the moment. So what you could do is say, okay, well, imagine this is Belinda. Okay, so Belinda's having this current experience. Okay, and we've just drawn out the current experience. Belinda would like to make $1,000 a week, and when she makes $1,000 a week, she'll feel relieved and she'll feel free and she'll feel excited and playful. Okay, in relation to that, this is what she would like. But in relation to that, Belinda has got, she's only making $50 a week and she's feeling really frustrated and angry at the world. Okay, that's the current experience. So the question is, what would Belinda have to believe in order to have this experience? Now, a lot of people have trouble with this. So let's have a go. All right, Belinda. So what would Belinda need to believe in order to have that experience? She probably has a belief that maybe she feels that making money is hard. Okay, and we're just kind of fishing here. We're just brainstorming. We're like, cool. Okay, well, what else would Belinda have to believe? She'd have to believe that making money will result in her feeling free and happy and playful. Okay, What else would Belinda have to believe to have that experience? That it's not okay to make slow progress. Cool. Okay. What else would Belinda have to believe? And literally see if you can get 5 beliefs and write them down. Okay, then you ask your client, okay, because the client will have these beliefs as well, okay, because it's have to believe. And then you just literally ask them just to move them to their heart and ask them which one is jumping out at them. And they'll tell you, when you actually move to your heart and not try and think with your brain, but just ask your heart from this place, something will jump out. Okay, so it'll be whatever it is. And I've used here as an example, my husband doesn't love me. Okay, so we'll use that as a belief. And you can circle back around with all of these beliefs. Okay, so the first question you want to ask your client is, well, how do you know this is true? And Belinda will say, well, what's her belief? Let's see what Belinda's belief that we've chosen. It's hard making money. Okay, so how does she know this is true? And she'll tell you every reason under the sun why making money is hard. She'll have a whole list as long as her arms, because this is her experience. Okay, so she'll tell you. She'll have this top of mind. Okay. All right. So, but then you want to ask her, well, how could this belief be false? And she'll probably think for a little bit more, and she'll say, well, I know people that have won the lottery, and there's been times in my life where actually making money wasn't hard. Da 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 da. So there'll be plenty, and spend as much time pulling those out as you did the negative beliefs as well. So once you've got all this evidence for the belief and all this evidence against the belief, then you simply want to ask, well, Belinda, how do you know what's really true? And she'll be like, oh. She won't be able to say. She might try. And then she'll go, well, it's true for me. Okay, maybe. And then you're like, well, and then you just circle back around. Instead of like making money is hard, then the belief becomes making money is hard for Belinda. All right. And then you should go back. Okay, how do you know this is true? She's already told you. How could this belief be false? She'll tell you. And then, so how do you know what's really true? Like, right. All we're doing here is we're just destabilizing this belief, because oftentimes we just get this idea in our mind about something being so true when it's not true at all. So Belinda, what would you like to believe instead? Making money is easy. Sweet. What evidence do you have that this new belief is already true? And she's like, oh, okay. Well, 2 years ago, I did this and this and this and made a ton of money. Or, my sister just made a whole bunch of money and she didn't really work really hard for it, or whatever. So we're just starting to stack in some evidence that this new belief is already true. And then it can be a really good idea to create an affirmation that you add into your lenses journaling. So remember, we've got our worksheets and there's the journal template that you can use if you want to. And in that space, we have a place for an affirmation. So it goes, thank you. And whatever your affirmation is, thank you. I'm a legend and money flows into my account effortlessly and from sacred sources. And it feels playful, fun. There's a feeling of responsibility, whatever it is, just getting to that feeling. I can go through that with the client. So if they haven't got in their lenses, in their journal, if they don't have an affirmation, I really highly recommend that the client has one that they go through every day, and really take some time to feel those feelings and be grateful for the affirmation as if it's already happened. Thank you. I'm a legend and money flows into my account effortlessly and from sacred sources. Like, how cool is that? It will gradually feel more and more and more true. Okay, we're not diving into deep subconscious transformation here or rewiring our brain. This is kind of manual process, but it is still powerful. This is the way it was done up until just a couple of years ago. All right. So you can do that with your client, go through beliefs. Or another thing you can do is go through the inner stance distinctions. So this is from the book Straight Line Leadership by Dusan Dukic. Really, really powerful book. I'm so excited by this book because really you get to look at how you've been. You get to sort of look at how you've been and decide how you need to be instead. Because ultimately we get different results from different actions. And yes, we can dive into our beliefs and tinker with our beliefs and things like that, but we can just take a straight line, like we can just cut that off and just say, okay, well, Belinda, how have you been this week? She's like, well, I don't know, let's think of something. I've been overwhelmed and there's too much to do. Okay, all right, cool, Belinda. Well, let's have a look and let's see if any of these disempowering stances versus the empowering ones. So these are all paired up. These are all distinctions. And let's say she's been waiting for something to happen so that, like, when my son comes home from university, then I can do this thing and then I'll make some money. Like, that's what I mean, like waiting for something to happen instead of creating it now. This is a big one at the moment. We're in the midst of sort of, or the beginnings or towards the end, who knows, of coronavirus madness. So are we being worried? Are we finding ourselves worrying? Because that's a disempowering inner stance versus, and if you can go, oh man, this, maybe in your conversation with your client, they're like, I've been worried about this, I'm worried about that. And you can say, well, actually, well, that's the disempowered stance. What is a more empowered stance? Concern. Okay, I'm concerned that this is happening. Okay, well, that's good. So what can you do about it? Worry is this thing that just goes over and over and over again. It doesn't really help. They might give you reasons why it can't be done. Okay, simply just change to, well, how can it be done? Okay, so if they're giving you reasons why it can't be done, they need to move into a more empowered stance of thinking actually about how it can be done. Okay, there's a whole ton of these. I highly recommend reading the book. But even if you haven't read the book, if you're feeling people are being pessimistic, okay, you can explore these things together. All right, it seems to me, Belinda, that you've been a bit pessimistic, or Belinda might self-identify and say, yeah, well, actually, I've been a bit pessimistic this week. Okay, well, what does optimism look like? Okay, are you going to choose to be optimistic? All right, maybe the client is avoiding something. Okay, the simple, powerful stance that is in opposition to that is to actually take that thing on. Okay, maybe the client's been in chaos. It's been chaotic. Okay, the opposite of that is being focused. So literally, you can actually just go through this sheet and find out a few that jump out and ask your client, well, can they choose to actually be focused this week instead of in chaotic? And they'll say, yeah. And then next week, you'll get to see whether they actually were able to or not. And then, if they're really having trouble, that's when you can dive into beliefs and bits and pieces. But my suggestion is really go to the inner stance sheet first. When there's a block, when people aren't making the progress that they want to, this is the shortcut. That's why I was so excited about it when I saw it. Of all the subconscious training I've had and coaching training and everything, this little matrix here, this little table, probably excited me the most when it comes to something that anybody can do to actually shift their game and create change for themselves. Okay, so you can choose your inner stance. How do you need to be when it comes to this issue or theme, Belinda? Okay, I need to be more focused and I need to be whatever, optimistic and more focused. All right. And now, Belinda, that you've chosen to be more optimistic and more focused, what do you need to do? What actions does this powerful inner stance require of you in order for you to maintain this stance? I need to do my lenses. I need to create some space where I won't be interrupted. Whatever, okay? Do you see where this is going? Okay, so which action is the number one priority for you to move past this obstacle today? They'll tell you, it becomes their one thing, you add it to the lenses, and then you get to review next week. So that is a very quick and easy method to coach your accountability buddy. I hope that made sense. What I'll do is I'll stop the training here and stop the recording, but then I'll open up my Zoom room again. We might actually, we'll test this out and have a practice if anyone has time. That will be a separate recording. So thanks for watching. I hope this is really helpful. I'm really looking forward to seeing the results that we see as you start coaching your accountability buddy.